We've been listening to a press briefing in Kerr County, Kerrville, after yesterday's deadly, devastating flash floods. At last check, leaving 32 people dead and still 27 people, a number of them children, missing. Governor Abbott, joined by Texas Senator John Cornyn and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and local authorities as well. A number of things coming from this, from Governor Abbott, noting that the state will be relentless in finding those affected, and it is a 24/7 operation, nonstop until everyone is found. And the governor says that they will assume that every missing person is alive until they learn otherwise. We have also noted that 15 Texas counties have been listed by a disaster declaration by the governor, and he has indicated that he will also request a federal disaster declaration from President Trump. Hence Secretary Noem's presence there, who says that a number of resources remain on the ready if and when the governor gets to that point of asking for that federal assistance. Meantime, this is an ongoing operation, continuing to look for those who are missing in Kerrville. The Kerr County judge says nobody saw this coming, as he noted earlier in the day that this is on the Guadalupe River, and we'll note that some people say the Guadalupe River, but either way, noted as the most dangerous river valley in the United States, as this confluence of weather patterns just dumped inches and inches of rain onto the area and created the flash flooding that prompted all of this damage, all of this death, all of this devastation that is ongoing now. That search for the missing people continues at this hour, and again, as Governor Abbott noted, it will continue until everyone who is missing is accounted for. I want to ask now if we can go to Kerrville. Yes? Excellent. First, I want to go to our reporter, Fox 26's Jonathan Mejia. He has been on the ground since last night, and Anthony Antoine has just arrived as well. Anthony's there. Gentlemen, Jonathan, let me start with you first. You've been there and you've gotten kind of some sense of what's going on. What have you learned? What have you seen?
That's right, Tom. I've been here since last night, and this has been ongoing search for 36 hours, and it just continues. Every single update we receive, Anthony, unfortunately, the death toll continues to rise, and we're just learning more of how the state, local, and federal are all working together to continue to search for missing people.
And you know, Tom, what I thought was really interesting, too, is in that press conference, you heard a reporter ask a question looking for specifics, the difference between rescue and recovery, right? Because that essentially is what this boils down to, because every update we get, we first started with 13 deaths and it went to 24. Here we are now at 27, now 32. So like that is the emphasis here, because so many families are clinging to that hope that their little girl or that son, their daughter, their grandparents are still alive. And if it's a rescue effort, you hold on to that. But if there's discussion about recovery, now we're in a different space where folks are no longer potentially holding on to that hope, because right now it's recovering bodies. So that's why it was so important to try to get that understanding there. And I think the governor summed it up the best way possible, right? He says we're going to assume everyone missing is alive, and that's pretty much where things stand right now.
And that's the hope that they're hanging on to. You know, I've attended to 2 presses already, and there's not losing hope. Even the mayor of the city of Kerrville says, listen, it's going to be a tough day for the city, but we're going to find everyone. Now, the difficulty is that they can only account for the campers, because they know that how many have registered to those camps. Right. But what they're dealing with now is that they don't know how many people were here visiting the weekend. They don't know if people were visiting their family members. So they're not sure of how many people are unaccounted for. But again, they're not losing hope, and that's what we're hearing here.
And, you know, even Chip Roy, the representative who was here at the podium, he talked about this being a spot where he and his family come to all the time. It's a very popular place for folks to visit, especially on July 4th. And to Jonathan's point, that's why it's difficult to figure out that accounted for number, because even in those first press conferences, everyone in the media was trying to get an understanding. Okay, we're hearing unaccounted for, but give me a rough idea here. Are we looking at 100 people, 200-300 people? So it's really tough, right, to figure out, especially on July 4th weekend. A lot of folks were out there in their campers, you know, driving their RVs, going to the RV park that's in this community. Then even in that RV park, was it just a couple, or was it a couple and their 3 kids?
And you mentioned the RV park. That's one of the first locations we went to yesterday, and we arrived there and we did not know that was an RV park until we saw on social media what it was before. Completely gutted and you're just seeing the remnants of the waters and what we saw there. So it's a lot going on here, but I think we can put trust in what the officials are wanting to do and how they are wanting to execute their search efforts.
And you know, with the water rising, I think they said it was like 26 feet in about 45 minutes. We are dealing with historic levels of flooding here in this community. But the governor mentioned how they were looking to just find the little girl that may be holding on to a tree limb, just holding on just a little bit longer for first responders to get there. We know yesterday they had about 5 helicopters in the air. They were successful with those recoveries. They mentioned that 3 more will be here today. And then we just found out from that press conference, Kristi Noem, Secretary of Homeland Security, she mentioned that they'll be sending more helicopters from the Coast Guard, which have thermal imaging, and that really will give them another leg up in this search, because then they can actually see people late at night. We know some of those searches continued here overnight, but at the same time, now you're armed with this chopper that can have thermal imaging that gives you another tool in the tool belt to hopefully find someone that is still out there, like the governor said, holding on for the minute. They can be found and then returned to their family.
And you talk about holding on for one more minute longer. You know, attending these press conferences, we learned that a lot of these rescues are from high-level places, so they are either in trees or they're in areas where the water isn't high enough. So I think that hope, we're hoping that people can continue to hold on to that hope. And, you know, if we're the ones asking questions as media members, how are the family members feeling right now? That's what I've been here. You're gonna go around the city, you're gonna see the remnants, you're gonna see the trees and all the debris. And there's no word for what you're going to see because it's that impacting. And if we have no words, imagine the family members who get that call, hey, your daughter's missing, or hey, unfortunately, they're no longer alive.
And you know, I want to share something on a personal level here. I have a friend who actually went to college with a family that lost their daughter. So this is a camp that's well known, not just here in Texas. Little girls, they come to this camp from all across the neighboring states. So it's not just Texas. So you have families that are going to be impacted in different states, you know. So I know personally this has definitely crossed state lines for some folks. And one of the things that we're talking about is the search. What areas are we searching? Because the river rose so high and that water is just going extremely fast downstream, they have to search the entire Guadalupe River, because you don't know, someone that may have been swept away here could be 12 miles down the Guadalupe River. So it's one of those things where there's going to be a lot of efforts, and as the water recedes, that's going to give you new areas to search. That is NIM Kid essentially said it's a grid type search. They're searching everything in parcels, trying to make sure they don't overlook anything. And again, as that water recedes, that's new territory they have to look for and hopefully find people.
It's complicated because the Guadalupe River, from what I understand and what I've been able to see, there's certain areas where the water has completely receded and you are able to, walk around and see, but there's areas where that water is still rushing. You can still see the current, you can hear it, how, fast it's moving. So complicated situation when we talk about geography. And
it's moving downstream. Folks in Georgetown and Travis County, we have some issues there as well, because that water's got to go somewhere. It's going to continue to flow downstream. But again, the highlight, not the highlight, but the unfortunate news, I should say, 32 people now deceased, 18 adults. Out of the 18 adults, 5 of them are unidentified. Then we also have 14 children, 3 of them identified, for a total, again, 32 lives lost. And
3 unidentified.
3 unidentified, correct. Yes. So then we're going to continue to kind of watch. We're expecting another press conference, and if it's anything like this one, every day we get every time we get a press conference, those numbers increase. So hopefully it's not as bad as what we've been seeing.
And Anthony, we've been posting on social media, whether that's Instagram, Twitter, X, Facebook, live streaming. A lot of people are commenting, how can we help? Can we go out there and search? And one of the things that the officials were saying, hey, stay home. I know you want to help and search, but that is only going to serve as a deterrent. They have enough resources with the state. We just heard it right now. 1,331 state support has been sent in ways of on top of local support. And they went down through the breakdown of who was here. We heard from Texas DPS, the state game warden, just several different law enforcement agencies, all here on deck wanting to find and search for those missing persons.
Yeah, the best thing you can do right now is to just share information that to be truthful on fox26houston.com. We've been doing our very best to compile compile information on the reunification centers, the shelters that are out there, people that are going to be offering help if you would like to make those donations. So definitely head to the website. But also, if you are missing someone, there's a call center that has now been set up. There's a number and email address. So I want to share this with our viewers watching now. That number to call is 830-258-1111. Again, that's the number to the call center if you're missing anyone. The number 830-258-1111. And then the email address is floodrecovery at co.kerr.tx.us. Again, we're going to put that on the website to make sure you guys have that, but it's floodrecovery at co.kerr.tx.us.
And that is one of the messages that officials are saying. Please help us share this contact information, whether by phone or by email.
You know, we're going to send it back to you in the studio here for a second, Tom. We can actually hear there's helicopters right over here. There's also sirens heading in that direction. The Texas Game Warden just pulled in here behind us. So this pretty much is Central Command. This is where the press conference took place inside of the building here. That is the Texas DPS State Troopers. Yeah, they're heading down towards the city now, pretty much towards the community. Down that way, we're not allowed access pretty much. So this is pretty much where everything is happening, and we're doing our very best to get you guys as best and as accurate information as possible. But the search efforts certainly continuing here at this hour.
Anthony Antoine and Jonathan Mejia in Kerrville this afternoon. Thank you so much. Work yet to do. We'll check in with you later in the day and the evening as well. We did mention that this flash flood was unpredicted. It's this confluence of a couple of different weather patterns. Let's go to Fox 26 meteorologist Remeisha Shade with the kind of an explanation as to what happened. And then, Remeisha, this same sort of problem is now farther to the north, at least it was earlier in the day, and kind of to the northwest of Austin.
Right. Across central Texas, we're still dealing with some pretty major flooding issues. We've been tracking this big wave of flooding over the last day to day and a half, and it has just been historic in some of these locations. I want to take you to this graphic. This is showing the Guadalupe River right around Hunt, and check just how high this water level was. At its peak, when it crested close to 30 feet, 29.45 feet during the early morning hours of the 4th of July. That happened in a very short period of time, rapid rise of water on that river, and that was actually the second highest height on record. That was even higher than the 1987 flood. So this is the Guadalupe River at Hunt, and it actually rose 22 feet in only a few hours. More specifically, in about 3 hours. So the Guadalupe River at Comfort actually rose 26 feet in about 45 minutes. So this was an extreme event. We had extreme drought actually going on before this. So initially the ground was really not able to absorb a lot of that water very quickly. So there was more runoff, and that led to the flash flooding happening even faster. So now we've been tracking the rainfall from this system. This is over the last 48 hours or 2 days. And check out these totals. This is crazy what we're seeing with these rain totals. Anywhere from 10 to almost 18 inches of rain for parts of the hill country in central Texas, from Brady to Fredericksburg to Kerrville to Burnett, Round Rock, and now even into Austin, seeing some of that super heavy rain, those rain totals piling up, and we do actually still have ongoing flooding at this time. So here's the picture of what's going on at the moment, and we still have a flash flood emergency warning going on for Burnett County, and this is going to include the Burnett area. This is very close to Round Rock, just to the north and west of Austin. What is a flash flood emergency? Well, a flash flood warning means that life-threatening flash flooding is going on. But when you get the emergency wording, that means the National Weather Service is thinking that this is an unusual and a catastrophic situation potentially, where we could have widespread life-threatening flash flooding, and you really need to try to get to shelter, get to a safe place quickly, because it's a very dangerous situation. So that is going on currently in Burnett County, and that emergency flash flood warning will continue through at least 7 p.m. It was supposed to end at 4, but has already been extended through 7 p.m. Farther to the south, we've got Austin dealing with some flooding issues, and we also have some flash flood warnings and flood advisories down around San Marcos, New Braunfels, and the San Antonio area just to the south of where we do have those flood warnings. So we got a lot going on in this area. We'll continue to monitor it. Heavy rain trying to push into western sections of the Houston metro area, but it's staying west of Houston now over towards Brenham and College Station. We've been getting some rain there, but we do still have a flood watch in place for a big chunk of central Texas, including the Kerrville area and also San Antonio, Austin, and Round Rock. This is until 10 p.m. tonight, so this was also extended. What can we expect here? Another 2 to 4 inches of rainfall could quickly lead to more flash flooding. So this is a problem that's not going to go away, at least for the next few hours, at least through tonight. That flood risk will remain on the higher side. Closer look at where we do have that flash flood emergency. This is going to be right around Burnett County, Marble Falls, Burnett, and Liberty Hill, and you see that heavy rain at least starting to push south of this area. It's tracking from the north to the south, so we've gotten rid of the heaviest of that rain, but the damage is already done. There's still a lot of flooding going on there, so certainly you need to avoid any floodwaters in that area. Also dealing with flash flood warnings down closer to the Austin area. In fact, Round Rock under that flash flood warning, Lakeway, Bee Cave, Lago Vista under a flash flood warning, and we've got that flash flood emergency that does include parts of Travis County. So a lot going on here. You can see just over the last 12 hours, anywhere from 2 to 6 inches of rain right over Burnett, Bertram, Marble Falls, and pushing down into Lago Vista. Definitely some very heavy rain coming down in a short period of time. Also dealing with a flash flood emergency down around the Royal Forest area, just to the south and west of Royal Forest and north of New Braunfels. This emergency flash flood warning going out through 6:30 p.m. So there's still a lot going on with this flooding in central Texas, and it looks like it will continue at least through tonight. Models are indicating that the atmosphere will kind of try to start to dry out over the next day or two, but we still got a mid-level disturbance kind of spinning here, pumping in a lot of moisture, and we will continue to see these rain totals, unfortunately, piling up. 12-hour rainfall up towards New Braunfels and also Canyon Lake, Marion, Santa Clara. In these spots, anywhere from 5 to 10 inches of rain, and this is just over the last 12 hours. So this is the reason why we got all of the flood advisories, the flash flood warnings, emergency flash flood warnings, and it likely will continue. I want to show you our Fox weather model and what you can expect as we go through the rest of tonight for the central Texas area. And it's not really looking great. Models are still showing big blobs of heavy rain bubbling up near San Antonio, San Marcos, Round Rock, Burnett, Killeen. Maybe not pushing as far west as Kerrville, but we do have still a high shot for more flash flood potential here. By 8 o'clock, some of the same spots getting hit with those waves of heavy rain, and I think by 10, some of that could creep close to the Kerrville area before it kind of starts to wind down for the night. So we'll have to watch that closely, because at this point, any additional rain could cause some issues there. As far as that flash flood risk for the rest of today and tonight, it remains elevated in the same spot I've been telling you about in central Texas for parts of the Hill Country, including the San Antonio area, Kerrville, Fredericksburg, Austin, and Round Rock. Notice that the Houston area is not included in this. The worst of this will stay to the west of Houston and Galveston, so a little bit of good news there. Flood risk tomorrow will start to retreat back to the west and northwest of Kerrville, but Kerrville's still in that low marginal risk for flooding even on Sunday. And to the northwest of Kerrville, there's still a 2 out of 4 street flooding risk. But here is some better news. As we go into Monday, the street flooding risk moves out completely from central Texas, and we back it all the way up to Amarillo and the Albuquerque area. So things will gradually start to dry out, and hopefully that will help crews to get out and be able to recover a little bit quicker and get things done that they need to get done. But for now, unfortunately, the flash flooding situation still continues for this area. Closer look at what's going on in and around Houston. I told you some of that heavy rain was trying to creep a little bit closer to the Houston area, not quite making it at this point, but if you're over towards Eagle Lake, Sealy, Columbus, Belleville, and Brenham, you're getting in on some of this heavy rain action. At this point, not expecting any major flooding here. We'll have to see just how quickly this rain moves out, but just plan on some slowdowns if you are going to be out running errands or trying to make it to an event this evening. That heavy rain still coming down, but H-Town and also down towards Galveston looking good at this point. So I am expecting these downpours to likely continue for a few more hours over towards Belleville, Sealy, and Eagle Lake, and maybe making it into Houston briefly. But notice as we go through our future cast, that comes to an end tonight. So I'm not expecting the situation to push into the Houston area. So it's good news for us, but of course we will have to closely monitor what's going on for our friends in Central Texas, because it has been a horrific, nightmarish event that has gone on over the last day to day and a half. At least in Houston, though, things are quiet, calm, and we will continue to monitor that threat for heavy rainfall getting closer to the Houston area. But for now, I think for the rest of the holiday weekend, it's just isolated rain tonight and Sunday with some better storm chances popping up as some of you head back to work on Monday. Tom?
Remeisha, thank you. We have been updating the devastating and deadly flooding, flash flooding in Kerr County, and the continuing search for survivors and those who have been victimized by this event. We'll continue to monitor this. We will have the latest that we can share with you on Fox 26 News at 5. We'll see you then.